This is scale buildup. This is scale buildup. This is also scale buildup. And this is the American Valve ScaleRx Whole Home Conditioner. If you live in a home where you end up getting scale buildup like that on your fixtures and you find you have a really difficult time cleaning it off, similar to what my coworkers experienced, kind of noticed he did a phenomenal job in his newer bathroom on the shower head, getting a lot of that scale off. There's still some residue and some spots left over from it. Obviously in the half bathroom with that beautiful polished gold faucet, that thing's seen some better days and has a ton of scale buildup on it. And it seems like almost no matter what you do, that scale keeps coming back stronger and stronger every time you end up using the bathroom or cleaning it. So today, we're gonna help him out a little bit by installing one of these right after his water meter. The American Valve ScaleRx Whole Home Water Conditioner conditions water using a process called template-assisted crystallization. And unlike salt-based softeners, it doesn't remove the beneficial hard minerals like calcium and magnesium from the water. Instead, as hard water flows through the valve, the TAC media, which is what's inside of the valve, causes the minerals to crystallize into non-adhering microscopic particles. Since these particles can no longer stick to surfaces like pipes, heating elements, fixtures, scale buildup is then prevented throughout your home. This process requires no salt, no electricity, simply install the valve in the proper direction. So today we're going to install this. I'll walk you through the whole process. We sell this just as the straight valve on the website. They do make a retail kit. It's not my favorite. It comes with shark bite fittings. I'm not a huge fan of shark bite fittings considering I know how to sweat pipe and I do it pretty well. So we're going to end up, this is a 1-inch valve. We're going to bush from 1 inch down to 3/4 inch, which is the size of his main line for his home. So once we get that there, we're going to throw a union in so it's easy if you ever need to get this out or service it, which really they come with about a 15-year shelf life, 12 or 15, I can't remember, but you really don't have to do anything to it. There's no maintenance required. After that time kind of gets to that point where you see that scale build up a little quicker, you'll simply pop this guy out with your union, undo it, throw a new one in. Anyway, we'll jump into the install. If you guys have any questions, make sure to throw them down in the comments below. There's a cat here assisting the install. This wonderful, wonderful gentleman. That's a big boy. Just like my guy at home, Pierre. Love him. That's a good cat. All right, anyway, we'll get into the install. Thanks. These old gate valves sometimes give you a little trouble. You might need a wrench to get it started. But just take your time, go nice and slow, work the valve shut. Once you have it all the way shut, we're going to drain the water from the house down, making sure it's off. Easiest way to drain the water in the house is going to be at the lowest fixture. So in this situation, it's the laundry tub here in the basement. And this is draining all the pipes from the entire house. Gravity will just let it work its way out through this. All right, with our close cutters in hand, we're going to end up cutting our line. And like I said, we're going to get a little water coming out of this. The meter's not moving though, so I know it's off. We're just draining what's left in the rest of the home. And if I was smarter about this, I wouldn't have cut so much. We're going to be here for a minute. All right, all that's drained down. Just took a little bit of time. Finish our cut. So the goal is taking the 1-inch American scale valve. We're going to reduce it down with these 1 by 3/4 inch MIP by Sweats. So we're going to have both of these in. I'm also going to include a union to make this easily accessible in the future. So basically we're looking at union down here. Our first MIP, our second MIP will go right here on top of the valve. And then we're going to leave a couple of inches and throw a coupling in. So this will give us a lot of room for accessibility. Let's get our sweat lines nice and neat. I'm going to get that straightened out, cut this line here, and we'll go from there. All right, so we are running into some technical difficulties in the other room. So we're going to do all of our prep work, and then we are going to just get it So while that shutoff valve isn't functioning perfectly, all we'll have to do is make one sweat connection and then easily put it all back together. There we go. So I like to do all my sweating kind of in a nice spot like this. Try not to make a mess on people's floors. Get a little flux wipe on that. Come back over with the jersey glove. Same thing on the other side. Very nice. All right, so this is cooled down a little bit. Now I'm going to make my cut for the other half of the union. There we go. So this is the other half for our union. We know this is going into the valve. This is going to grab the bottom half of the union off our main water line. So it's going to be oriented in that position. So same thing, we're just going to hit it with our sand cloth, clean it up a little flux, and then sweat it on. Nice. All right, let that cool down a little bit, and then we'll get both of the 1 inch by 3/4 inch MIPs installed in the American scale valve and get it above the meter. We know the main shutoff valve isn't working perfectly, so we do get a little water in the line just above our shutoff. So I'm going to take a little piece of copper and blow out the water in there to buy us some time to get the bottom half of our union on. It's a little stopgap while we're basically waiting to replace this guy. So you can do this with not a 1/2 inch piece of copper. You could actually use something like a piece of 3/8 poly or whatever, or a straw. Yep. Good, not great. It'll be serviceable for what we need. That water will come up and it'll actually slowly cool this down. Hopefully, you want to be careful with that because if you go too fast, you could end up cracking the joint if that water comes up really quick. So I knew we had enough time. We'd be fine. All right, we're going to prep our 1 inch MIPs with a little PTFE tape. We like the blue stuff. It's on plumbingdeals.com. Check it out. You could also use pipe dope if you wanted. The instructions for this, they do say use the tape. That's cool with me. Do the same on the other side, and then we're going to tighten them into our valve. We got to get that top one sweat on our little coupling and the last little bit of pipe. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. We're going to tighten the MIPs into the valve using a couple of wrenches. Make sure you use a backer. Big important notice. There is an arrow pointing in the direction the flow of water is supposed to be. Please make sure you pay attention to that arrow and install it in the proper direction. It's a nicer way to do this where you're not fighting yourself. I'm really not using the best leverage possible here, but that's okay. There we go. Same thing on the other side, and then we're going to get that last little bit sweat in, connect our union, and we'll be all set. All right, I've already cleaned our line. We're just going to get a little flux in the mix here. Hello. It's a lot of flux. Flux up our coupling. Already cleaned the inside of it. It's got the stop built in. Both of our MIPs tightened up into our valve. We'll just slide that guy right into our coupling. So you see we're pretty much at the right spot height-wise. Nothing else changes. Once that union's connected, it'll kind of pull everything together. We're going to wait to do that. Beautiful. Goes without saying, be really careful when you're sweating in environments like this where you have stuff behind it. If you're not a pro with a torch, sometimes you kind of forget where the end of the torch is and you burn a bunch of stuff. I'm not saying I've ever done it, but it can happen. Anyway, let's get this all connected and wrapped up. All right, we're going to tighten our union up. And you can kind of see, looks like this is all kind of cockeyed, but once we pull this up, kind of center that just a bit, and we're just going to start by hand. Okay. So, got that size for the union. Hello. Should be nice and tight. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is very slowly turn our water on. You definitely don't wanna do this quickly. You wanna take your time and just slowly work the valve open. All right, so we're just gonna open our valve nice and slow. I yanked on this with a wrench, so you might have to open it with a wrench. Big thing is go nice and slow. You'll start hearing the line fill. Just slowly keep rotating your gate valve until it's all the way open. If you have a ball valve, it's gonna be really nice. All right, so we have a couple of fixtures on. We're gonna go turn those off, and we'll double check everything else in our line for leaks and be good to go. All right, and that completes our install of the American Valve ScaleRx Whole Home Conditioner. For us, this is a really good application for a house on city water that gets a little bit of buildup from time to time in the faucets. It makes it a lot easier to clean, and in general, it's gonna make your water a little nicer. For a lot of homes that are updating their entire potable water system, and let's say you're doing a tankless water heater, that's where these are actually an amazing fit. They make a 3/4 inch one that goes right in line on the cold water inlet of a tankless water heater, and that'll actually help prevent that scale buildup inside of the heat exchanger of a tankless water heater. We can do a whole video on that another time, but if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to know about the ScaleRx, just let us know down in the comments. Feel free to stop by the website, plumbingdeals.com. Like and subscribe for more. Thanks.